Hi everybody, this is part 2 of the rapid fire answers to LIBO questions, LIBO being large intestine bacterial overgrowth. So I'm flipping over here, or looking over at my screen here, I should say, with the rest of the questions that were asked on one of my posts. So the question is, what is the diet that would help to address both SIBO and LIBO? So again, as per usual, nothing I'm saying should be construed as medical advice. This is for informational purposes only. Please talk to your personal healthcare provider if you have questions about what you should do with your treatment protocol. In terms of the diet for SIBO and LIBO, I generally recommend for my patients the same type of diet for both conditions. I'm typically recommending a diet that is going to help to starve out those bacteria, and typically be working with something that has low complex carbohydrates in it, or like a low complex carbohydrate diet, low refined sugar, that type of thing. There's different methods out there. There's the GAPS diet, there's the paleo diet, there's the low FODMAP diet, which isn't 100% anti-SIBO, anti-LIBO diet, but it can certainly be helpful for folks who have those conditions in some cases. So it would be the same type of diet though for either condition in my experience. And then individual here is asking about a question, or has a question about the elemental diet. It says apparently that gets rid of SIBO all the way because it's so drastic, but it's not a popular option. I would agree it's not a popular option. Patients generally very much do not like the elemental diet. The elemental diet is basically essentially pre-digested protein, so it's basically free amino acids. It's maltodextrin, which is a simple sugar which is very rapidly absorbed in the small intestine, and then there is some oil in there. I think it's palm oil. I can't remember now off the top of my head which type of oil it is, and then some vitamins and minerals as well. So the idea with the elemental diet is that it's just really, really rapidly absorbed nutrition, and it just doesn't have a chance to linger in the intestinal tract, the small intestine, for very long, and therefore not for long in the large intestine either. And so it can really effectively starve out these bacteria. And as the person asking the question was kind of alluding to, when we look at the research studies, seeing like how much can rifaximin, the popular antibiotic used to treat SIBO, or other agents drop down the level of gases on SIBO breath testing, the elemental diet is much more effective, or I should say, it can much more dramatically drop those gas levels on follow-up testing. So it can be a very, very effective diet, but unfortunately it's expensive. I mean, the cost, just to give a sense of things, last time I prescribed it, which was a fair bit of time ago, but it was around, I think, $400 Canadian for a 2-week supply of elemental diet powder, and that's a very good price on it. There are other companies where it's quite a bit more expensive. So it's quite expensive, and it's also just mentally hard to stick with. It's just mixing powder into water and drinking it back, and there's challenges around the taste and some other logistical issues with it, so not a very popular option, but it can be very, very effective. I have a few patients where it was the only thing that was helpful for their SIBO, but I've had other patients where it's helpful while they're on it, but then as soon as they come off of it, they relapse. And I think in a lot of those cases, in hindsight, there was a LIBO issue that was underfoot. Let's see here. And then, so the question was, can I expand on the diet, which I think I just did, and is there a similar version for LIBO? And again, I think it's kind of the same diet. I will put in a tiny little plug here, or not a plug, but just a tiny little comment that, in my opinion, I think that in many cases, the carnivore diet can be very similar to the elemental diet in terms of helping to starve out SIBO and LIBO. Carnivore diet is definitely something that, in my opinion, should be directed by a healthcare provider. There's certain diets out there where maybe it's a little less risky to just play with it on one's own, but the carnivore diet, I think it really should be there are some potential consequences to doing it the wrong way, and so I think it's just extra important to make sure one is working with someone to work with that diet. But I think that it can be very effective to treat SIBO and LIBO, and I've seen it effectively treat SIBO and LIBO in some really, really tough cases. That is the end of the question list. Thank you so much for submitting those questions. They were great, and I really enjoy doing these rapid fire Q&A answers. So I hope that it's enjoyable for those of you who watched, and if you're not already on my newsletter, please do click the link below if you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook, or please go to my bio if you're watching this on Instagram, click on the link tree there, and please consider signing up for my newsletter. I am just in the process, I've just recently launched my new podcast. I've been making announcements or giving updates to my newsletter recipients about that, and then I have some other initiatives that are going to be starting up, some live Q&As that will just be sent out to my newsletter subscribers. So if you're interested in learning a bit more from me, then please consider subscribing. You can stay up to date on those types of offerings. If there are any outstanding questions about LIBO or any other topic, please post in the comment section below, and I'll do my best to answer as soon as I can.